As Kenyans were waiting for the results of the 2007 presidential election or general election, the then chairman of ECK, Samuel Kivuitu, said a very unfortunate thing. He said he's trying to raise up his returning officers. None of them is picking a phone. None of them very few of them have arrived. There must be somewhere cooking up the figures. And if they come with their cooked figures, I will chase them and tell them to go back and bring the right figures. We may never know. Maybe we will know on the judgment day. We are told as Christians that on the judgment day, everything will be laid bare. So we will know whether that statement contributed to 10 people or if that statement contributed to 90% of the problems we had after the general election. People did not know Samuel Kivuitu. I knew Samuel Kivuitu when I used to get jobs as a presiding officer in the ECK. Well, he commented something. There is nothing I'm going to hide. There's nothing I'm beating about the bush. But let me start by saying Kivuitu had a character of simple talks. Yes, he was a senior lawyer. A very good lawyer, a former MP for Parklands. But he had a character of simple talks. Things that you should not take them to the bank. But his mistake, and he was a senior lawyer, his mistake was the kind of a joke he made costed a lot of deaths. I want to give just one example of the way he talked to us as election officials, and I felt that he should not have talked the same. Just before you have an election, you are visited by a commissioner. Usually it is the regional commissioner for the ECK or IEBC. He addresses the presiding and deputy presiding officer. He or she addresses presiding or deputy presiding officers. Gives them a talk of 30 or so minutes. We had a by-election in Webuye where Musikari Kombo was allegedly to have undergone Holy Asilulu oath. Then a by-election was called, and during that time, Busolo is the one who was elected in that by-election. And Samuel Kivuitu, is it Kivuitu? Kivuitu. Ndiye ndeze kikamba ne sata akamba. Kikamba chakwa tikithuku. See, now Samuel Kivuitu told us that I know returning officers do employ their underage kids, and they take, so you find a returning officer employing an underage kid and placing the kid to be at stamping the ballot paper. So he said, no, don't stamp it before you give it. There is a case we have. That is a cook's case, of course. That is a case scenario. That is somebody, a daughter of a returning officer, just took the whole, started stamping at the back, stamping at the back, stamp, and stamped the whole book and started sleeping. So when the case went to court, some ballot papers that had not been marked, had not even gone to the ballot booth, were found and the election was nullified. So he gives examples which are out of place, because if you look at the Webuye incident, as a commissioner, by then he was just a commissioner, not even a vice chair. He should have said that don't recruit relatives. But he was saying there's a returning officer who wanted his underage daughter to get. He said, okay, he should also have said that. Of course, he told us that we should interchange the clerks. One works for 1 hour doing this, marking the register. Then the next time he or she is giving out the ballot papers. Next time stamping at the back of the voter's card. Such a thing. He should have told us that. But then you see the example he was giving, that a returning officer wanted his underage. So it is like he's endorsing that. So he was a loose talker. As a loose talker, he talked, and when he talked at the wrong time. Now, finalizing, because I've talked now about him and I've cleared about him, I want to talk about the 2007 general election. When two people differ, and our courts are a perfect example of when two people differ. Kindly, whatever a neutral arbitrator decides, we should stand by that. We should stand by whatever a neutral arbitrator says. Of course, the neutral arbitrator is usually the person on trial. Because when I accuse you to court, you and I know the truth. But I have to bring my points, and you have to bring your points. And based on those points, the judge has to decide what was the outcome. And the judge was not there. Me and you, the litigants, were there. But everybody, I have gone this side, and you have gone this side. Eh? Now everybody has moved away from the truth. So it is for the judge to. And according to the 2007 general or presidential election, the international people who came, Kina Kriegler and whatever, made a decision, said that both sides stole. This side stole, this side stole. Both sides stole massively, such that you could not say who won. And that is when it was decided that they form a government of national unity. I have just said that an arbitrator, when whatever the arbitrator says stands, isn't it? So with that one stands. But then let us look at it. Look at Nyaka. Is it Nyando? Yeah, Nyando. Look at Nyando constituency. Look at Nyando's constituency presidential election. It says that 105% of the registered voters voted. 105. In any election, if people are registered, unless it is an election that you are registering as you enter the polling station, but any election that you register a day before casting, I can assure you, you can never have 100% turnout. There is the presiding officer here. According to IEBC and even ECK, you do not vote in the polling station that you are registered. So presiding officer, deputy presiding officer, polling clerks, security, those are people in that constituency, but they do not vote on the voting days. So in Nyando, the turnout was 105%. It means everybody who registered voted, plus 5 other persons, because if people vote, the highest number, even when people are registering and voting at the same time, the highest number should be 100%. 100 plus 1, rigging. But then the Rakanithi came with so many registered voters that today, 2024, the number of people who voted in the Rakanithi, people who voted, I'm not talking of people who registered to vote. I'm talking of people who voted, are more than the population of the Rakanithi today. That is the kids. By kids, I mean anybody below the registration age, the 18 years. I'm also saying there are those people who are over 18 who have, in Kenya, registering as a citizen, if you don't register, it's an offense. But registering as a voter is not compulsory. So we have adults who in Tharaka-Nithi today have not registered, or even if they are given a chance, they will not register. So the whole population of Tharaka-Nithi today, 17 years later, is less than the voters who did what. So if you stole 5 shillings, why should you call a thief who stole a million a thief? You are both thieves. So in that time, what happened is that this side had the what do you call, had the intelligence on them. So what they did is that, and these things were happening without Kivuitu knowing. That is why Kivuitu was saying, these people are cooking. I'll come to that. I'll come to the position of the chair. These people, the intelligence, by then it was NSIS, but let us call it by its present name, NIS, had talked to the system, and they went direct to the returning officers. So returning officers, not all of them, because returning officers are also, you don't want to tell me that a candidate is from your county for the presidential and you're a returning officer, and you, most likely 80% you'll be supporting that candidate, isn't it? So the NIS looked at the proper returning officers in proper places and even advised, bypassed the chairman. Now that is where we have a problem, and that is the problem we had with Chebukati. I'll say that they went straight to the returning officers. So the returning officers cooked figures, and they said, okay, that side instead of them adding 2, wanasema wakiiba na tunaiba, they can add 2, we add 5. Let us wait for returning officers from that side waje wote, then returning officers, because wakikuja wote they don't have anything to cook. Yeah? Like Nyando, if they would have known the Rakanithi was somewhere, maybe the turnout would have been 120. So let them come, waje kuja tu, wakuja. Then they have 5 million. So if we rig and place there 6 million, they cannot add, isn't it? Because they have brought all their ballot boxes and all their returns. That is what happened. And anniversary tour was not involved. They were bypassed, and uh, they went straight to selected, not all the returning officers, selected. Returning officers from neutral places, no. Returning officers from areas like, eh, they were not involved. But even majority of the returning officers from the mountain were not involved. It was just the involved people. You see, the Rakanithi is not developed like Madira or something like that. Find that. Why were the returning officers compromised? The returning officers were compromised because apart from commissioners, everybody else used to be a temporary worker. Now, if you are made a returning officer and then you are unapewa kitu, that led to, if you do not know, now you know why returning officers are employed on permanent job. Even right now, you go to the constituency office, you'll find returning officers there reading newspapers, pigaring story. Hata mimi nikiboeka huko ndio nataka kupiga story. That is what made the returning officers be employed. Since that time, returning officers are on permanent job with the IEBC. The other thing I wanted to say, you heard me saying Chebukati, I'll come to that. The chairman of the ECK and who is also the chairman of IEBC, whoever will be taken, has very limited powers. He has very limited powers. And even when people, I heard a prominent politician saying that in other countries, like the USA, the commissioners sit down, and if the commissioners force says the left has won, uh, then left becomes elected. And if the majority say right, that is what we call delegate system. In Kenya, no. In Kenya, the IEBC chair is 2 people in 1 or 3 people in 1. Decision made by a presiding officer at the polling station is final. Final. It can only be changed in an election court. So this thing about commissioners calling themselves and saying that they want to do tabulation, the only tabulation is looking at, you know, somebody may write 1 and I convert in a 7, is it? But the figures, but that is an election offense, altering a document. But the figures that was gotten at the polling station, nobody can change. Nobody can change. Even when the NSAC was telling him, tengeneza vizuri, so that they go to a, in case they said so, that is, then even he, you know, the chairperson, we have never had a chair lady, isn't it? The chairman of ECK, the chairman of IEBC, his work is to tabulate. From this side, I got 5 votes. From this side, I got 3 votes. So totaling 8. That is his work. He cannot alter. That is his work is to collate votes at the national level. In elections of all other seats, each seat has its own returning officer. We have a seat. We have a returning officer for the constituency, who also doubles up as the returning officer for wards. Then we have the county returning officer for 2 seats, for 3 seats. The county returning officer is for the women rep. The county returning officer is for the senator and the governor. The chair is the presidential returning officer. I was shocked when a prominent person was saying that he wonders when Chebukati appointed himself the returning officer national. I was shocked. But since the time of Chesoni, the chair of IEBC is the national returning officer for the presidential. One thing I've noticed, and I want the selection panel to correct, is that in all other, the constituency and county returning officers have deputies. Not even one. There is one who can have one deputy and two assistant returning officers. At the national level, we do not have a deputy returning officer. Somebody please spread this video to go out so that in the next presidential election, we have a deputy returning officer for the night. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. The national returning officer could be sick. He could die. He could be kidnapped. Although there's a school of thought that if Chebukati would have had a deputy, and this thing is being talked by Babu Owino. Babu Owino was saying that they were pushing for Chebukati to be abducted, and so that the vice chair becomes the returning officer and announces elections the way they would have wished. That would have created a constitutional crisis because Chebukati had no deputy returning officer. I think the next election should be done that, but we also should look for a way where, supposing Madam Cherera was the deputy and Chebukati was kidnapped or abducted, let us also look. As we do that, we should also address the issue of supposing the temporary or permanent absence of the chair if it is man-made. I've never heard of woman-made. That one has got to be addressed. I said that the chairman of the IEBC is three persons in one. One, he is, or the next election it may be a lady. She is the national returning officer. Two, he is a commissioner of the IEBC. Three, he's an executive commissioner. The others do not have day-to-day work, because you find that the CEO of the IEBC reports to him. The CEO does not report to the other commissioners. So let us, in the time when we are trying to get other new people, let us also use that opportunity to correct things that we have had it in the past. Thank you.